Retailers call shoplifting the #1 money crime in the country. Last year, figures showed shoplifters ripped off more than $16 billion in goods. But merchants say when shoplifters steal, consumers end up footing most of the bill, paying about 15 cents of every dollar for every item stolen. Who steals? Retailers say nearly all classes of people shoplift, but the average culprit is a middle-class white female between 14 and 19 years of age. Retailers say most culprits are amateurs, like housewives who are trying to stretch their budgets and obtain goods that are especially durable. Retailers say the professional culprit plans his hit to later sell the high-valued items. What's taken? Retailers say mostly jewelry, clothes, and cosmetics. But now, merchants are striking back. More plainclothes security men are patrolling the stores, especially during this time of year, and retailers say they are prosecuting.
We certainly do. I think the trend probably is that most stores do prosecute. The courts certainly, I think, are being harsher on these criminals, and they realize what a big, industry or criminal industry it is.
Merchants add, for the most part, items that are stolen could have been purchased by the shoplifter, but the goods aren't because retailers say most shoplifters don't think they'll get caught. Kim Davis, WSFA TV News.
Power Company spokesman Brian Allen says 4 cars and a truck were hit in the Power Company parking lot downtown last night. He says nothing was stolen, but windshields and the side windows were broken out. Someone involved found the keys inside one of the trucks and decided to drive off with it. Power Company officials say the key was left in the truck by mistake. But soon after the truck was taken, it ended up at Best Glass Company. The driver ran into a big window which used to be here. Upon impact, the truck hit an iron railing which punctured its radiator, left the room in disarray and a hole in the ceiling of the building. The driver fled. Later, the stolen truck was towed to the Power Company lot where it's awaiting repairs. Ironically, the other vandalized cars and truck were taken to Best Glass for new windows. So Best Glass workers not only had to clean up and replace their own window, but the Power Company's windows as well. Cassandra Taylor, WSFA TV News.
Traffic was unusually heavy in downtown Montgomery yesterday with the Turkey Day Classic Parade and the Tuskegee Institute Alabama State game that followed. A near-capacity crowd attended the game, and empty parking spaces near the stadium were few and far between. Police say some fans parked in spaces where officers had no choice but to have the cars towed away.
The main problem down at Crampton Bowl was people were blocking traffic. They were blocking fire hydrants, double parking in the street and traffic lanes, and blocking the lanes of traffic so people couldn't move at all, blocking the exits to the bowl itself, so when the bowl lit out, nobody could get out through that exit.
Police officials say hopefully the parking space here at Crampton Bowl and across the street at Patterson Field will be enough to accommodate football fans for the high school playoff games and for the Blue-Gray Classic coming up in December. However, should the space not be ample, they suggest you find a place to park that is off the main thoroughfare and not blocking traffic or driveways. That way you can avoid finding your car missing after the game. Mac Carmack, WSFA TV News.
Defense dominated through 1.5 quarters as neither team could get anything going. And then just inside Northview, Roberts good for a 45-yard touchdown. At the 4:18 mark in the half, the Cougars grab a 7-0 lead. But Jeff Davis comes right back, scoring right before the half. Quarterback Mike Turk scrambles around until he finds Steve Holloway open down the sidelines. The Northview defender falls. Holloway takes it in for a 50-yard touchdown. And at halftime, the game is all tied at 7. A Vol fumble on the first possession of the second half gave the Cougars the ball at the JD 30. Northview gets on the board when Alan Lopez boots a 42-yard field goal. It's 10-7 Northview early in the third quarter. JD mounts a late fourth quarter drive. Curtis Stewart gets a big first down here to the 17. Then on 3rd and 5 at the 6, Turk is sacked for a loss by Bud Young. That brings on Steve Holloway. He will attempt a 27-yard field goal, but it's short and to the left with only seconds remaining. Northview upsets Jeff Davis 10-7. The Vols finish a great season at 12-1. The Cougars advance to next week's finals against Carver of Birmingham in Birmingham's Legion Field on Friday night. Rick Pons, WSFA TV Sports.
This is Bell Road. It's a 5.5-mile stretch of asphalt running from Highway 80 parallel to the Eastern Bypass, ending at the Troy Highway, and it's in need of repair. County Engineer Buddy Trotter says these days Bell Road is almost always in need of repair because in the past 2 years the number of vehicles using the road has increased dramatically. Trotter estimates as many as 10,000 cars a day now pass along the once seldom traveled road, and all that traffic is taking its toll. Trotter says 2 years ago when the city of Montgomery annexed land to the east, Bell Road fell inside the city limits. But Trotter says because of a stipulation in the annexation contract, the county engineers are required to continue maintaining Bell Road until residents along the road receive 7 city services: police and fire protection, water, garbage and sewer services, street lights, and road maintenance. But the recent increase in traffic on Bell Road has created a difficult situation for the county engineers. Trotter says Bell Road is too narrow for the traffic it now carries. Vehicles are constantly running off the road, tearing up the shoulders. So county engineers must repair them, and that costs a lot of money. Trotter says the problem could at least be reduced if Bell Road was widened about 2 feet on either side, but that too would cost a great deal of money, about $175,000. Trotter says because the road is now inside the city limits, the city should at least help maintain or widen the road, and he's asked the county commission to see what can be done to help remedy the situation. Some relief is expected for Bell Road traffic in the next year when a 1-mile extension of Taylor Road links the Troy Highway with the AUM interchange on Interstate 85. Until then, Trotter says the amount of traffic continues to grow, and the need for repairs grows right along with it. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
Every red-blooded college football fan knows you just can't go to a ball game without buying a souvenir. And here across the street from Legion Field for a quarter mile, that's all there is. Everything from bumper stickers to barbecued ribs. The souvenir stands open early and close late. And within an 11 or 12-hour period, thousands of dollars exchange hands. Parents buying Auburn and Alabama hats, pennants, and stuffed animals for their children and for themselves. How much do you want to spend? Well, that all depends. You can buy a $1 bumper sticker, or you can pay $3,000 for this wooden Bear Bryant statue. How many of these do you expect to sell today?
You really can't tell today. You don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like. If Alabama wins the game, we hope we have a real big turnover on them.
The number 315, signifying Bear Bryant's record-breaking college football coaching career, is the main object of the Crimson Tide souvenir pieces. The Bama fans confidently buy the souvenirs before game time. The Auburn fans, meanwhile, don't seem to pay much attention to the 3 digits.
I was there when Bama made history, 315.
And what about Auburn, Alabama football tickets? How much would you pay for a pair just before the game? Well, the ticket scalpers are betting you'll pay plenty, and they're usually right.
Give me $55 for the pair, for 2.
How much will they sell for 5 minutes before the game?
$300 a piece.
To Auburn and Alabama football fans, the Iron Bowl is considered the biggest sporting event of the year. But to the souvenir barkers and the ticket scalpers, it's just another ball game and another day's work. From Legion Field, Birmingham, Dan Black, WSFA TV News.
Fact is, I don't care too much about ball game no way.
No, I don't really do one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me.
Oh, it should be a good game, I guess. I don't know. We got to do some Christmas shopping, though.
Yeah. They just don't care anything about the ball games. Family life's more important.
You're not.
I'm out Christmas shopping. That's more important than the ball game right now.
I'm not real interested in football, even though Auburn is my team.
Because I wanted them both to win, and I couldn't make up my mind which one to root for.
How about you?
I'm from Mississippi.
Oh.
If Ole Miss was playing, I'd be watching. No, I'm...
If you've traveled Bell Road on Montgomery's eastern edge much in the past 2 years, you may have noticed that traffic there has increased. The road has gone from handling a few hundred cars a week to an estimated 10,000 a day. That estimate comes from County Engineer Buddy Trotter, who says that dramatic increase in traffic on Bell Road has caused another increase in county road repair bills. Trotter says Bell Road is too narrow for the kind of traffic it now handles. Consequently, cars and trucks are always running off the road, tearing up the shoulders, creating a need for constant, costly repairs. Trotter says that problem could at least be partially solved by widening Bell Road, but that would cost about $175,000. Trotter says when Bell Road was annexed to the city of Montgomery 2 years ago, the county agreed to maintain the road until residents along it were receiving all the regular city services, including road repairs. But now, with an ever-increasing flow of traffic on Bell Road, Trotter says he'd like to see the city help pay some of the bills. He's asked the county commission to contact city officials to try to reach some sort of agreement that might relieve some of the financial burden from the county. In the meantime, Trotter says the traffic and repair bills continue to grow. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
It was all eyes and cameras on the Bear in Birmingham today as he sought the victory that would make him the winningest coach in college football history. The event attracted a phenomenally large press corps, former Bama football players and staff members, nationwide live television coverage, and a capacity crowd at Legion Field. But the Bears' typical approach to the emotions of the game didn't appear on the surface to have changed. As he led his team to victory, it appeared to be just another game, until he admitted otherwise after the game.
In the second half there for a while, I felt like that I didn't know what we were going to have to do to win the game. I thought we could win at the half.
The game was between Auburn and Alabama, not the Bear and Amos Alonzo Stagg, whose record he surpassed with the win. But the record did leave Bryant with a feeling of relief.
But only the last 3 or 4 days, or last week, as it really dawned on me that there were so many people. I always knew there was many people involved, but it just not dawned on me. They let me know, the people that were involved, that had contributed to it, that they expected it to be done, and since I was supposed to be their leader, it better be done. So actually it's a big relief off me tonight, because a lot of them were here from all the schools that I've ever been at.
During the post-game news conference, Bryant got a chance to see Auburn coach Pat Dye and exchange some personal reflections. Right about now, Bryant says he wants to be sitting at home watching the replay of the game just to make sure they really did win and eat some milk and bread and an onion. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News in Birmingham.
I told Charlie both for the post of the year if he didn't do it well.
Alan Gray got loose down the sidelines for 52 yards to set up Alabama's first touchdown after Auburn had missed a golden opportunity for the field goal. Gray sneaked in for the touchdown, 7-0 Alabama. Auburn missed 2 more chances to score before George Peoples slipped through the Tide defense on this 63-yard touchdown run to tie the game at 7 at the half. Alabama went up 14-7 in the third quarter on this shuttle pass to Jesse Bendros. The play covered 26 yards. On the next series, Joey Jones had trouble fielding the punt. Auburn batted it all the way down to the 3-yard line. Lionel James took it in from there. It was 14-14. Another fumble punt allowed Auburn to retain possession in this drive. Al Del Greco kicked Auburn into a lead, 17-14, early in the fourth quarter. Aided by a holding penalty, Alabama drove, regaining the lead on this Walter Lewis pass to Jesse Bendros. Later in the final period, Lenny Patrick powered the fourth-ranked Tide to a put-away touchdown. Alabama won it 28-17 to move back into the national championship chase, which will now be decided by the bowl games, and to hand Bear Bryant his 315th career victory to move past Amos Alonzo Stagg. Chris Grimshaw has that story.
Thought you fought a good fight. I think there's any question about that. I think you displayed a lot of class. Against a good football team. I feel mighty bad for you seniors. You displayed a lot of class this year. One thing I'd like to leave with you is that you didn't get the full benefit that might have been coming your way for doing what you did. But don't ever doubt the things that we've talked and preached all year long will win. Now, you younger players, you sophomores and freshmen and juniors, you'll be here to witness it and be a part of it. But you seniors, you think back on it. Don't ever forget about it, because it'll win. Not just in football. I ain't talking about football here. I'm talking about in life. Proud to be associated with you. It's tough, but you're men, and just keep getting up. That's really what I wanted to get across. You know, I'd rather have that than have one or two more wins and have to live, you know, with something less in the future.
What the hell are you doing in here still? What are you doing?
I told you we was gonna get after your ass, but wasn't quite good enough.
Well, you didn't tell me the Lord's gonna be on your side in that fourth quarter, third quarter, all that front running and dribbling and stuff. So.
How about all them damn deals we did with the kicking game and the damn.
Pat was real happy. You've done a great job over there. I told
Charlie both for the coach of the year. If he didn't do it, well, you have to get him.
Oh, me. I tell you what, Coach, you whipped your ass in statistics, but I wish them son of a bitches would count up different.
I don't know. Thing that you appreciate, I told him I'd give you my best. Governor Carter just called me. I mean,
Governor Ray.
Carter. Well, Reagan too, but Governor Carter, I thought you'd appreciate that more.
I ain't no damn politician. Oh, man. Did the president call you?
Well, sure he called me.
Well,
so President Carter.
Let me.
I told him officials for the one I does. Are you Georgia boys over there when Pat did?
Shit, I tell you what, that behind the damn line called him holding penalties out there in the third quarter. He must have been from Alabama. As a matter of fact, I think he lives in Huntsville, doesn't he?
No, he's my next door neighbor. Pat,
y'all get out to Texas here.
Oh, shit, I gotta go and rest.
I wish the hell you'd have waited a while longer to win that son of a bitch.
Wait, how long?
Get that thing out of the way, Charlie. Hey.
I'll see.
I'm proud for you, proud of you.
I'm proud of you. You done a hell of a job this year. Real great job, Pat. Real deal.
Thank you.
Tom Dart says the latest analysis by the Alabama Petroleum Council shows that Alabama should have more than adequate supplies of gasoline through the holiday season and on into next winter. That's good news for motorists making plans for upcoming holiday trips. Even more good news is that the price on the pump is expected to remain about the same. Dart says an oversupply of oil on the world market is the reason for the stable gasoline prices. Here in Montgomery, the average price for unleaded is $1.30, while regular is $1.26 a gallon. Dart cautions that while gasoline is plentiful now, any type of Middle Eastern flare-up could change everything and cause prices to jump almost overnight. Petroleum Council statistics show that the U.S. was consuming nearly 20 million barrels of oil a day during the height of the 1979 oil shortage. Consumption today has dropped to 16 million barrels a day. Dart says an increase in small car sales has been the greatest contributing factor in declining consumption, with most new models averaging 30 to 35 miles per gallon. Looking to the future, Dart says he believes gasoline prices at the pump could very well remain stable throughout the decade of the 1980s. But he says all that depends on the state of events in the Middle Eastern world. Dan Black, WSFA TV News.
The gathering was small and happy. PATCO members and their families meeting to talk about ball games, family life, job hunting, the cost of living. There were handshakes and hugs as the family called PATCO gathered at headquarters on Montgomery's east side. They gather like this every few weeks to be updated on the status of their strike, to organize picket schedules, and to encourage each other. Encouragement is important these days as savings accounts dwindle, as the days without work draw on. Bob Andrews was a controller 29 years before the strike started last August, and though he says he'll be glad when the strike is over and he's back at work, he and his family are getting by.
Well, so far it hasn't been too bad. Not having any income has made it a little rough. But
another controller, Van Grayson, also thinks the PATCO people will be called back, maybe next month.
We're hoping the strike's going to be over soon so that we can start receiving normal paychecks again.
Bruce Murray is selling insurance now, trying to keep up with the bills. He too thinks the controllers will go back.
I would hope so. That's what I have planned. But if I don't, then I'll do something else. I mean, there's other jobs. It's just...
The families at tonight's meeting also expressed strong hope for the future and few regrets about the past.
Pressures over the last 10 years when we had tried to get changes made were important enough that someone's attention had to be gotten, and so when the group decided to go out, he went with them, and I'm behind him.
In all, the controllers are a surprisingly happy crowd, considering that many are facing a Christmas season where money may be extremely tight, where jobs are hard to find, and where the future is uncertain. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
From one place to another, invest in friends and relatives. We know that each year. Both of those periods we know are going to be a large number of people traveling, be visiting, be traveling locally from from one place to another and visiting friends and relatives. We know that each year that this is going to be a large amount of traffic, and we psych ourselves and try to gear ourselves to meet this challenge.
It was back in August that the Patco controllers walked off the job, saying they would work no longer without what they called a fair and equitable contract. Now, nearly 3 months later, they're still off the job, and they're still saying they did what they had to do. Montgomery Patco President C.J. Favre says since the Patco members walked out, the bills for the union and its members have been piling up. He says the union has filed for bankruptcy to gain some more time to pay those debts. But he says the airline industry is also going deeper and deeper into financial troubles, that the airlines are in a recession.
Losses in the airline industry alone, if people would read the Wall Street Journal and all other financial statements, would tell them that they've got to get a resolution in this situation. And if the administration keeps a posture that the strike is over and that the air traffic controllers won't be hired back, then they're going to allow the aviation industry to go into a depression.
Favre says Patco's biggest concern is to keep its membership abreast of the situation. Favre says locally that's getting more difficult because many members are moving away from town in efforts to secure full-time employment. But Favre says this doesn't mean the Patco stance has changed. He says the strike was the only alternative to unbearable working conditions. But what does all this mean to local Patco members, some facing the Christmas season with no jobs and steadily dwindling resources? They're meeting tonight at Montgomery Patco headquarters, and we'll be there to ask some of them how they and their families are dealing with the situation. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
We obviously made mistakes that hurt us. 2 interceptions, a bobbled punt, fumble on a field goal. I guess we probably made, more mistakes like that tonight than we made all year long. But I think on the other hand, I think the effort and the intensity and the way they played put us in position to win the football game. And I'm mighty proud of it.
If I could charted the way for it to turn out, I'd rather have to come from behind or come back and win in the fourth quarter, which I think our team did. I think it should help them. It proves, of course, that they got a little class, a little character, and it should show them that what can be done in the future. I don't think it hurt Auburn any, because those players fought their heart out, looked to me like, and I think they'll get better and better, and I don't want them to get much better for the next few years anyway. But
he's the greatest coach in the game's ever known. Don't think there's any question about it. And if anybody's going to have that record, it's certainly he's the one that deserves it.
So actually it's a big relief off me tonight, because a lot of them we hear from all the schools that I've ever been at, players and other people. And I'd hate to be going there and face them and say, well, we're going to try to do it another time.
Correction Medical Systems, their bid bond is in order. $8,557,334.
83.
We appreciate your interest. Did everyone sign the, everyone sign?
Braddock told the justices the sheriff can get a fairer impeachment trial in Montgomery before the High Court than in a criminal prosecution proceeding before a Houston County jury. Braddock says Clark, as sheriff, is in an ideal position to influence or intimidate jurors and witnesses. But the justices told Braddock what Clark's attorney, Bill Baxley, said when asked about the choice of the two trials: you can't have your cake and eat it too.
We're ready.
But you can't. Are you willing to now cross the criminal proceeding?
Well, Judge, that's a decision that's going to have to be made down the line somewhere.
But it's your decision.
It's your decision. That would be an appropriate disposition of the criminal charge.
During the hour-long hearing filled with Clark supporters, the governor's office entered the Clark case supporting Braddock's request. The governor's legal advisor, Jimmy Samford, says there's sufficient evidence for the impeachment proceeding against the sheriff. Several Houston County deputies who asked Clark's permission to talk about the trial believe their sheriff will get a fair trial in Houston County if those criminal charges are heard first. Do you think he'll get a fair trial?
I sure do. With the people of Houston County, I believe he can get a fair trial in Houston County.
Do they believe in your sheriff?
I sure do.
The people know him better. The people there know what he's doing and what he's not doing.
Do the people believe he's innocent?
I'd say about 85% do.
Kim Davis, WSFA TV News at the Supreme Court.
The audience was clearly on the senator's side when he called agriculture and fertile growing space the fundamental base and strength of the nation. And they appeared to agree even more when Heflin said the general public must be educated to the problems facing today's farmer.
Everything that goes wrong with this country seems to affect agriculture first. And we've got more problems dealing with agriculture than I believe any other segment of our economy.
Heflin had predictions for the future, saying without strong soil management programs, the decade of the 80s might see land shortages to rival the energy problems we now face. And he thinks the Reagan administration isn't doing much to help.
Again, let me say I'm for balancing the budget, but I think that you have got to be selective in the cuts that you make, and certainly the farm community has already, in my judgment, suffered a tremendous amount of cuts, more so than they should.
In all, it was a chance for Heflin to gain support from the agricultural community and fire a few shots at the Reagan White House. But it was also a chance for the state's farmers to gain support of the federal government. More on that side of the convention in the 10 o'clock report. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
Currently, corporate aircraft owners are buying their fuel from either Epps or Montgomery Aviation. But now the airport authority has plans for what they call a fuel farm, which in effect would mean the aircraft owners would buy their fuel directly from oil companies and then store it in the airport's fuel facility. The owners of Epps Aircraft and Montgomery Aviation say the proposal, if enacted, would put them out of business.
There's a good possibility that a fixed base operator on the Danley Field Airport will not be able to stay in business and make a profit if the airport authority goes under competition in the fuel business with them.
George Epps of Epps Aviation, who was contacted by phone, says it would not be proper for a government entity such as the airport authority to compete with free enterprise, particularly when there is already plenty of competition between his company and Montgomery Aviation. Don Reynolds, chairman of the airport authority, says he doesn't believe the small number of corporate customers now being served would have an adverse effect on the two aviation companies. He says driving them out of business is the last thing the authority would want to happen. Both Montgomery Aviation and Epps Aircraft have requested that the airport authority not begin the fueling services. A decision is expected tomorrow at the airport authority meeting. Dan Black, WSFA TV News.
The House and Senate members were back in Montgomery waiting for this, a letter from Governor James' bond attorney saying there were no errors in the governor's bills after the Senate and House had tacked on their amendments. With that assurance, House Speaker Joe McCorkadale and Lieutenant Governor George McMillan signed the remaining bills, sending them to Governor James. Of the 9 bills in Governor James' package, 3 propose amendments to the state constitution which require approval by the voters. The legislature approved a resolution by Representative Jack Venable that would include 20 other proposed constitutional amendments, with the 3 from the governor's package in a special election tentatively set for March 2nd, 1982. With all of that, it was Governor James' turn to sign the bills.
So that winds it up. And now it's up to the people to vote 90 days from now as to where this will become the law and where we will be able to make it a reality that the corpus is preserved, the projects listed in the statutes are built. I think it's fiscally sound.
During a late afternoon news conference, Governor James said he plans to tour the state sometime before that March special election to remind voters what his package would do. Later this week, Governor James will take a group of state officials to Japan for an industry-seeking tour. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News at the Capitol.
The convention started yesterday with representatives from all 67 Alabama counties present in a show of support and, according to Association President Trice Edgar, a show of strength. A show that's being staged for Senator Howell Heflin, who spoke to the convention this afternoon, and for other political figures in the crowd, like former Governor George Wallace.
I really think the continuity of our people together, coming together to show that we have the unified effort, and showing this effort to people like Senator Heflin, Nornberg, who is Soil Conservation Chief in Washington, showing these people that we are all together.
Edgar says the association is comprised mainly of farmers, a group Edgar says needs political strength as much as any group.
I think all areas of life end up being political to some point. In order to get you a fair shake and your fair share of revenues and things of that type, you have to have some political pull.
When the convention adjourns tomorrow, Edgar hopes many bases will have been touched around the state and nation, bases Alabama farmers can later turn to when they need help in Washington. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.